Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to talk about the Saturn return, more specifically the first Saturn return. As the name implies, Saturn return is the time when the ringed planet comes back to the same spot it was in at the time of your birth, and it is significant. It takes 29 and a half years for Saturn to make one round around the sun. Okay, that's why when you are 29 or 30, it can feel a bit challenging, but that's when you are becoming 100% adult. Uh, Normally, legally at least, we become adults when we're 18. But astrologically, we become adults when we are 29. Okay, if you've noticed or not, a lot of people throughout their 20s, they are still experimenting, deciding what they want to do in life, thinking of changing careers and stuff, or trying all kinds of jobs. And what else? Also, we still have that youthful belief that we have lots of time. Okay. And then, like, when you are 30, suddenly it hits you that no, you don't have a lot of time. All the things you want to do, you have to start working on them now. Okay, that's why Saturn rules time. We become aware of time. We become aware of our mortality. Some might argue, well, I knew all this, when I was younger. Well, that means you probably are a Capricorn or have prominent Saturn in your chart. That's why you are familiar with the Saturn themes. But for a lot of other people, even though they are aware of their mortality, they don't really fully understand that, I guess. But when they are 29, it hits them like a ton of bricks suddenly. Yeah, so even though we are aware of those things, but we still feel like we have lots of time. But when we are 29, suddenly we're like, no, we have to become more responsible and take things seriously and work harder towards our goals because the time is now. Yeah, that's the feeling that Saturn gives at the time of your Saturn return. So as I said, Saturn rules time. Saturn rules karma. So during your Saturn return, you're gonna get what you deserve. So think of Saturn as this strict father figure who punishes you when you are not doing things right, when you are not taking your responsibilities seriously, and think of it as the father who rewards you when you actually do what you are supposed to do. Sometimes it might feel like you worked hard throughout your 20s, but you don't get what you deserve. You work long hours, but you don't get recognition and stuff. So if you have been feeling that way, then you're gonna get your rewards at the time of your Saturn return. It really happened in my case. Later in the video, when I'm gonna tell about my experience, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. So yeah, as I said, Saturn rules time, karma. It rules boundaries. It rules responsibilities. It rules wisdom because Saturn rules Capricorn. It's a sign of old age. Yeah. So what else? Long-term goals, hard work, incomparable result. Yeah, as you know, Saturn ruled people, Capricorns, are very hardworking. They're almost like workaholics. Yeah, because they represent Saturn, like all the hard work, seriousness. Saturn doesn't like wasting time. Yeah. During Saturn return, a lot of people suddenly might feel dissatisfied with their life, at least with the progress they've made in life. That's why a lot of people tend to break up during their Saturn return. I think the singer Adele famously divorced around the time of her Saturn return, and she even talked about her Saturn return in a few interviews. Yeah, I remember her wearing huge Saturn earrings. Emma Watson also recently talked about her Saturn return, how she suddenly became aware of how much progress she's made in life or other things she wants to work on in her life. Yeah, you should check those out. A lot of celebrities talk about their Saturn return. So yes, for some people it is a very difficult time, but also for those who have prominent Saturn in their chart, for example, Capricorns, or those who have Saturn conjunct their Sun or ascendant, somehow prominent Saturn, Saturn return time might feel when you finally get your rewards. After all those delays, restrictions, you finally get what you deserve. Yeah, so for some, it is actually the time when they get what they deserve. Kate Middleton, for example, she's a Capricorn and she got married when she was 29. Yeah, so, and remember, she got the nickname Waity Katie because she started dating Prince William in like college when they were like 20. Yeah, and she had to wait for like 8 years for the proposal, and that's a long time. Yeah, so remember, Saturn is delays. So Kate experienced those delays, and her Saturn is in Libra. It's an exalted Saturn. And so her delay was like associated with relationships, I guess, with marriage. Yeah, delayed marriage. But she finally got that during Saturn return. And another thing I need to mention is those who have Saturn in their own sign, like Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn in Aquarius, and Saturn in Libra, the exalted Saturn. Those people also tend to get what they deserve. Like they get more rewards than challenges during the Saturn return. Yeah, but for others it might feel like a difficult time because Saturn is not really strong in your chart. That's why maybe you didn't take your responsibilities as seriously, maybe. Yeah, because you are not really aware of like Saturn energy, I guess. Yeah, but that's why you feel that pressure during Saturn return. A lot of people tend to change their jobs during Saturn return because they feel dissatisfied with the career. Yeah, and what else? A lot of relationships, divorce, breakups happen during this time. For others, it's the time when they become parents. For others, it's the time when they buy their first house. Yeah, so as you can see, it's a very important time in the lives of people. And try to observe those your friends maybe who are 29, 28, 29, 30, what they're going through in their lives. Or maybe your parents, what did they do when they were 20? I mean 29, when they were 30. Okay, try to see what happened to them in their life. And I'm assuming since you are watching this video, you are probably going through your Saturn return. And so, if so, I would say congratulations, you are now an adult, officially, like a 100% adult. And even if you are experiencing challenges, try to find solace in the fact that your karma is becoming clear. Like it's like a new chapter in your karma. So if you face your karma, then now you know that you can work on your karma, and like, I mean, in a sense that now you won't repeat those mistakes that gave you that karma. Does that make sense? Okay, so what else do I need to mention? In my case, I'm gonna talk about my own experience now. In my case, I have my Saturn in Aquarius. It is a strong placement. Until the discovery of Uranus, Saturn was thought to rule Aquarius, so Saturn still feels comfortable in Aquarius. Yeah, and I have my Saturn in the 6th house. It's the house of work, okay? And health and pets. So my Saturn return began in March 2020. That's when Saturn officially entered the sign of Aquarius. And if you remember, that's when the coronavirus pandemic started. And yeah, so throughout my 20s, like I experienced delays, frustrations, limitations when it comes to work. Like I graduated from university when I was like 22, and for a year I couldn't find a job because in my country, like the economy is terrible, and because from an ethnic minority, like I couldn't find a job. I would have to pay lots of bribe like to get that, and I don't agree with the concept of bribes. Yeah, so I couldn't find a job. I was depressed for a year, and then I went to Southeast Asia to teach English there. And even though my salary was good, like because strong Saturn tends to give like good salary, I guess. Yeah, and so I was paid well, but there were still limitations. Like I couldn't get the official work permit to work in that country. Yeah, and that made me feel very uncomfortable because technically, like I was working illegally. Like I mean, I was on a visa, but it wasn't the work visa. Yeah, and so I remember feeling very uncomfortable. Yeah, and so as you can see, Saturn in 6th house was giving me those delays, frustrations. Like I would say Saturn energy gives this constipation vibes, you know, like very frustrating. You work so hard and you get like so little like you know, results. Saturn can feel like that. And then after that, I worked in Turkey, like in Istanbul. That around the time when the coronavirus began, around the time when Saturn entered Aquarius, I started teaching English in Istanbul. Yeah, and because of the lockdowns and because of the pandemic, students wouldn't come to lessons, and understandably so. So I was getting fewer hours to teach, and obviously that affected my salary. Yeah, so it was a very frustrating time. And so again, work visa problems in Turkey. I mean, I did have a visa, but it wasn't work permit. So again, as you can see, sixth house Saturn themes, frustrations, delays. Um, but the other thing is, when Saturn return started, I really started reevaluating my life. I'm like, okay, I'm 27 now. I don't have a serious relationship. I'm not married. I don't have kids. What am I gonna do with my life? Like those questions really started like becoming prominent in my head. Like before that, I used to think, oh, okay, like I still have time. I'm only 20 and something. Like I'm only 24. I'm only 25. I still have time. But like when I became like when I turned 28, 29, I was like, whoa, like I need to do something with my life, like because I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. Yeah. So in 2021, I applied for grad school and I got accepted. Yeah, and so the reason why I was working in those countries on like visas, like inappropriate visas, was because I wanted to gain work experience, teaching experience, like international experience, and that really helped because when I got accepted into grad school, I was able to teach an undergraduate course as part of the graduate teaching assistantship. So it really paid off. All the hard work, all the delays, all the frustrations, it paid off because I was still responsible. Yeah, like I focused on the long-term goal instead of like the short-term rewards. Yeah, and so when I was having my Saturn return, I started teaching a university course in the United States, and that was a huge achievement for me. Yeah, after all those like humiliating experiences abroad, it paid off. And yeah, I taught university courses for like 2 years, and recently I graduated. Like so, around the time of my Saturn return, the exact Saturn return for me, it happened in late February of 2023, and that's when I was taking a test, an important exam that I had to take in order to graduate from grad school. Yeah, so and I passed it. It was good. It felt great, and so. That's how I experienced my Saturn return. It was very rewarding, actually, in my case. Even though at the start I was experiencing those lockdowns, frustrations. Yeah, but it paid off. Like I finally got what I deserved, if that makes sense. Now, sixth house, as I said, it rules work. So work-wise, I finally got my rewards. And then in terms of health, like I wouldn't say I had like health problems. Like I do have like long-term health problems. Like I have tinnitus and constant ringing in my ears, like slight hearing loss. Because Saturn, and actually Saturn in Aquarius, Aquarius in medical astrology rules the nerves. So that's why I have like my hearing. It's nerves, right? So my hearing is affected. So yeah, but like I didn't really have any health complications during my Saturn return. I actually started exercising during my Saturn return. I became more aware of like my diet, I guess. I have Virgo rising, so I'm supposed to be picky, but like I didn't really start becoming picky until like my Saturn return. So nowadays, like I cook at home. Like the processed food literally like disgusts me. Like it tastes like plastic. So I cook at home now. Like after Saturn return, I started cooking at home all the time. Like, and 95% of the time, I cook at home now. And I have become aware of what I put inside, like in terms of food. Yeah. So I try to eat healthy. I try to avoid like what is it, processed food. I try to buy organic food. Yeah, so Saturn return in the sixth house can make you more aware of those things. And as I said, Saturn return rules. Wait, Saturn in the sixth house. Sixth house rules pets, and I got my cat during my Saturn return. Yeah, she is like my first pet. Yeah, and so she's like my new responsibility, and I love that. She keeps me company. And what else? During my Saturn return, I became aware of time. Like it might sound weird, but like suddenly, I became aware. I'm like, okay, my parents are at the age when they are supposed to uh, retire. Like I mean, they're still in their early 50s, mid 50s, but still, like I am 30 myself, and I would love to give my parents vacation, you know, like something that they deserve, some nice present for my parents. I have not been able to do that despite the working so much. Like I have not been able to do that, and that really frustrated me. But you know what, in my 20s I used to think, oh, I still have time, I still have time. But now after my Saturn return, I'm like, whoa, like I need to hurry up. Like if I want to do all those nice things to my parents, I need to hurry up, like because time is ticking. And so yeah, now like but thankfully Saturn return gave me a nice job. Like now I finally got a better paying job. Like my salary should be like so much better than before. So I hope I will be able to give my parents what they deserve. I will be able to give my parents gifts. Yeah, so Saturn return will make you really aware of time. And also, like as a woman, I guess the biological clock thing, yeah, like now I really want to have kids because in my case Saturn rules my fifth house, and now I really do want to have kids. It's not like I didn't want to have kids before, but like it was I always thought like, okay, I have time, but now it's like I need to hurry up. Yeah, and that's why I guess a lot of women try to like start really worrying about like their biological clock after turning 30 because they experience their Saturn return. Yeah, and for men, I guess they start wanting to commit, those who are single. Yeah, for others, those who are already married or in a relationship, they might start thinking about the long-term goals, the responsibilities, like what they want to do when they retire. Because like in 30 years' time, they will retire, so they start thinking about like, okay, so I need to invest, need to start savings. Like I mean, take savings more seriously and not like spending on unnecessary things. Yeah, and so that's Saturn return. What else do I need to mention? Relationships. In my case, Saturn is not really a relationship planet for me. I mean, but it's still close to my descendant. It's like within 9 degrees, and I was in a very like unfulfilling relationship for the past 2 years. And by the time Saturn reached my descendant in like Pisces, I finally broke up with the guy. Yeah, like it was a very toxic relationship, but we couldn't let each other go. So Saturn return finally made me cut off that relationship, basically. Yeah, and so if you are going through Saturn return, I would say keep moving. When things get tough, keep going. And Saturn is going to reward you for your hard work. Those of you who are about to experience their Saturn return in a year or two, I would say get ready. I mean, save up some money for like the rainy days, I guess, and for yeah. So don't worry. Like Saturn return, I feel like people make it sound so scary, but it's not that scary. Like what I forgot to mention is during the time of the exact conjunction of Saturn transiting Saturn to your natal Saturn, when at the time around the time of the exact conjunction, you can feel extremely tired. Yeah, for me, like from January until like March or April, I was constantly exhausted, even though like in my last semester of college, I took only one course because I completed all the requirements. But still, I was exhausted all the time. Like I didn't have energy. I felt like I spent the first 4 months of this year like in horizontal position because I was exhausted all the time. Like so, I would just be on my phone, on my laptop, reading. Yeah, horizontal position. So you can expect to feel exhausted. Okay, and when Saturn enters your natal Saturn sign, when your Saturn return officially begins, it can feel a bit depressing. You will have this existential crisis. Yeah, you're gonna start thinking about like, okay, how much progress have I made? What do I need to do in order to achieve my goals? What are my long-term goals? Yeah, you will start thinking about those things. And the good thing is, Saturn will make you focus on those things, work on those things, because you have been like postponing working on that. Okay, putting it on the carpet, but Saturn is gonna lift that carpet and be like, face these issues. Yeah, and so even if you do experience some challenges, I would say it's not the end of the world, and you can find relief in the fact that after Saturn return, you will have this like a fresh slate, like a new page, okay, karmically, and try to avoid the things that gave you that karma, okay. Take your relationship seriously after that. Take your responsibility seriously after Saturn return. And the good thing about Saturn return is that they say life tends to become more stable, okay, and I feel like it's true. Like throughout my 20s, I experienced like so many challenges, so many delays, and I had like Uranus in my sign, so it felt like the rug was constantly pulled from under my feet. It was very exhausting. And after Saturn return, I got a really well-paying job. I got my graduate degree, and like I actually was hired the day before my graduation, so it felt really good. So now that I'm 30, like I will be working at a nice job, like stable job, well-paying job. So don't be scared of your Saturn return. Good things are coming after your Saturn return. Persevere, okay? And I hope your Saturn return will not be harsh. And I wish you a stable life after Saturn return. Thank you for watching. And if you liked this video, if you found this informative, please subscribe and like, okay? And I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you.